The Midgard worldbook is by far one of the, if not the best world building book in my possession. As a matter of fact, it is filled with these little bits of world building lore that are often glanced over by the reader, but offer amazing potential for a character background, an adventure hook, or even an entire campaign. 10 years under the mountain is a common grievance amongst those who visit the Ironcrags against their will and survive. The dwarves ransom other dwarves for a fee in gold, but they hold other members of all other races captured in war for 10 years of captivity. Not long for a dwarf perhaps, but an age for a human or a halfling. The dwarves raid the lowlands, especially the Seven Cities, Magnar Kingdom, the Blood Kingdom and Zobek. These raids aim to take prisoners or lay siege to rival cities and are deadly affairs, resulting in significant losses and prisoners, deaths and dwarven blood. Most such raids happen in the spring and summer months, before the harvests. As they see it, each slave is a hostage to be returned to his or her home, if the gods will it, to tell other nations not to war against the Ironcrags. The threat of being taken and forced into picking through the dust of a salt mine or crushing rock for a smelter is enough to make many mercenaries think twice before agreeing to fight the dwarves. Although the dwarf taskmasters are nowhere as harsh as the goblins, ogres, or giants of the north. Slaves are not beaten or starved like those in other places. Thralls are given adequate food and rest. Each spring, the dwarves release hundreds of slaves or more. 10 years after a great war, for example, at the top of a pass and send these thralls home with the warning never to take up arms against the dwarves ever again. Most former slaves heed this advice, but a few carry rage and bitterness all their lives, becoming fierce foes of the dwarves, plundering their mule trains and bringing down airships. These few know what they face, and they want vengeance at any price. The Dwarven Thralls, easily one of my favorite bits of lore in the Midgard campaign setting by Kobold Press, only takes up about half a page of the Midgard worldbook, but it is an incredibly underutilized bit of lore that you can actually place in your campaign very easily and in a lot of ways. On top of that, the Ironcrag Mountains, where these Dwarven clans live that wage war against each other and have their own history going on, and where this lore actually comes from, only sits southwest of the free city of Zobek, which is already like the starting point of many people who play in Midgard, and also a lot of people play the bulk of their campaign in and around Zobek. So what I want to do in this video is just go over 3 general ideas of how you can place this bit of lore, the Ironcrag Mountains and the Ironcrag clans, into your game. The first thing that I want to talk about is for the players, because I think the Dwarven Thralls, the 10 years under the mountain ID, is a perfect background for a character. And I'm not necessarily talking about a background in a mechanical way, like choosing a background for your character, although it can really make a lot of sense for somebody who knows their way inside a mountain, or knows how to dig a tunnel safely, or know how to handle a freaking minecart or whatever. I'm also talking about like the backstory of your character, because somebody who has been 10 years under the mountain and has been released, it can have a lot of effects on a player character in either a positive way or a negative way, and it can come back to them, and it can be like this overarching thing for your character to kind of get over it or learn to live with some stuff they did back there and they had to do back there. And it could be like this thing that's always hovering over your character. And I mean positively or negatively, in a way that you might come back from this slavery for 10 years, and you might have like this deep respect for the dwarves, because although you worked for them, you also saw how they lived, you saw how they worked, you saw how they waged war, and you saw all kinds of stuff by them. Maybe you befriended some of the dwarves, and you got like a major respect for the dwarven race in general, which could be very cool for a player character to have. But it also could be the entire other way around. You might hate dwarves in general, especially the ones that live in the Ironcrag Mountains, and you might be okay with the dwarves like in the cities and all that jazz, or you might be afraid of dwarves. Dwarves might be like a very imposing creature for you. Whenever you encounter them, you could be like, oh, it's a dwarf, I respect them because I'm kind of like afraid of them, and it could be like something you figure out while you play. Putting this in your backstory, I think I have never seen anybody do it in the Midgard campaign setting, never heard anybody talk about it, but I absolutely would love to have a character at my table who has been under the mountain for 10 years. And then of course come the plot hooks, the adventure hooks, and even maybe the entire campaign hooks, because this gives us so much potential for example, a starting adventure where the players start as level 3 or something like that in the free city of Zobek, and they need to go rescue a noble from the Ironcrag clans because the noble has been captured in a raid a few months ago. Maybe the dwarves raid a village that the player characters happen to be in, and the player characters themselves get captured and they need to escape. Or you start your adventure, maybe it's a 1-shot, 2 sessions, 3 sessions, with characters being captured, and they need to escape, and they need to take as many prisoners with them as they possibly can to like form a little bit of an army and a following and kind of become like these heroes that saved the day and got a lot of husbands and wives back to their spouses. But for an entire campaign, it even gives more opportunity to my opinion, because for example, you can start your players off in the free city of Sobek, telling them like this noble got captured and they want to go there and they want to go free the noble, let's go free the noble and gather some gold. But then of course they get captured themselves, which is great for this bit of lore, because being captured actually introduces the lore of 10 years under the mountain. And now the player characters suddenly, they think it was going to be a simple quest, retrieve the noble, 2 sessions, 3 sessions, and then go on with the campaign and maybe go to the old Margrave or whatever, the Scarlet Citadel, whatever. They now are 10 years under the mountain, or they're at least facing 10 years under the mountain, which means they will probably want to try to escape. So you can turn this from what seemed to be a small adventure into this lengthy thing where they need to maybe even like gain the trust of some of the dwarves, maybe gain the trust of some of their fellow prisoners, and plan this escape, get the fuck out of the mountain, which could take a few sessions to only just get through the dungeon, through the exit, and then there is this entire thing where they need to go off of the mountains because this is an entire Ironcrag mountain area, and they have to go back to the village they want to go, or to the free city of Zobek, into a safety, which could spawn an entire, I don't know, this could take like from level 1 all the way up to level 10 easily, very easy. And I think that is a main strength of this little bit of lore that is in the Midgard campaign setting world book thing. The last thing I want to add is that this is an incredibly good opportunity not to kill your player characters. And by that I mean is whatever happens in the Ironcrag Mountains is the business of the dwarven clans that live there. Meaning that whoever they can capture actually becomes a slave. And the Ironcrag clans, they want to capture more people than they want to kill. Because if they capture a lot of people, their cities grow, their empires grow, and everything grows, and they get more gemstones, and they can sell more gemstones, and they can do more trading, and do more warfare, and do more dwarf business. So when the player characters as a party move into this mountain and shit hits the fan and they're about to maybe even die from a cave troll, which has nothing to do with the dwarves might save their lives by suddenly popping up from the mountain, throwing a few axes at the troll and just outright killing it, and your players are like, oh yeah, they killed the troll, thank you dwarves, and then the dwarves slap their hands on their back, handcuff them, and take them 10 years under the mountain, which could be a good idea to prevent the TPK, but having it make sense lore-wise. That's always a very difficult thing to do as a game master, which I think the Dwarven Thralls are perfect for. And that is basically everything I wanted to talk about. If you like these bite-sized bits of Midgard lore, make sure to comment below with what you want to see. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. And until next video, bye-bye.